All right, I've got 5 o'clock. I call tonight's meeting to order, Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. Roll call is Selectman Howdy Goodwin, Eric Eaton, Mackenzie Jewett, Kevin Buck, myself, Jamie Thurlow, and Town Manager Jesse Dunbar. Adoption of agenda. Is there anything anybody would like to change? I would like to add an executive session, if it's all right with everybody, at the very end of the meeting, titled Personnel Matters. Do you want a motion on that, Jesse, or is that?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Approval of warrants. We have warrant 65 for $100, warrant 66 for $11,949.13, 67 for $11,872.76, 68 for $42,083.67.
I make a motion to approve warrants 65 through 68.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve warrant 65 through 68. Is there any discussion?
I'll abstain from voting because my business is on warrant 68.
Okay, so you just want to abstain from voting on 68?
Yes.
Okay. Would we do it separately?
Yeah, let me make a new motion then.
Okay.
Okay. Rescind that motion. I'll make a motion to approve warrants 65 through 67.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve warrants 65 through 67. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Make a motion to approve warrant 68.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve warrant 68. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Eric abstains.
Did you want to do the minutes?
Okay. Approval of minutes. We have the minutes from Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 3rd, 2023.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from January 3rd, 2023. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I'll abstain.
That's right, Mackenzie, you missed that meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hurry about that.
Okay, next we have financial reports.
Alright. So these reports are as of December 31st, 2022, which is 50% of the way through the fiscal year. Under revenues, in December, we collected $59,545 in property taxes, bringing total collections to 94.56. Still remaining ahead of pace for FY22 and all other recent years. We also collected $33,465 in motor vehicle excise tax, resulting in total collections of 55.24% of what was budgeted. Again, this is ahead of pace from this point last year and ahead of our own pace with all other recent years. Some notable revenues in December include $2,985 in lien interest and costs, $707 in registration agent fees, $525 in plumbing, and $515 in building permits, $1,399 in checking interest, and $25,421 from the local road assistance program. In expenses, the administration cost center is currently at 51.35% of the budgeted amount for FY23. In December, some notable expenses included $2,565 for the biannual select board pay, $504 for postage, $514 membership fees that included the annual membership to the Chamber of Commerce, $2,680 for annual audit fees, $420 for software, including the offsite backup software, $14,717 for property insurance, and $502 in heating oil. In Public Works, is currently running at 60.42% of the budget. Some notable expenses in December include $13,445 in building repairs, and that included $1,750 for the heat pump and $11,695 for the lower entrance paving that was done. I will add that while that's running at 60% of the budget, some of the encumbrances that are on the agenda later were not in this budget, so that number will go back to where it should be once those funds are moved over. So next month should be back where it should be as far as percentages. We also had $1,663 in heating fuel for the garage, $156,654 for the construction thus far on Dix Point Road, $1,564 for part-time snowplow drivers, $1,449 for plow and sander parts, and $5,047 for winter sand. They also had $1,406 in outside repairs and $670 in supplies. In the general ledger, we received $11,088 in revenue sharing from the state in December, bringing the total to $81,880, which is 61% of what I budgeted for the year. You'll see a reduction of $7304 in the equipment reserve for the snowblower attachment for the Bobcat, a $2,000 reduction to the ARPA reserve for the payment to Casco Bay Advisors for the broadband study, and an increase of $26,000 followed by a reduction of $25,421 for the local road assistance program reserve. Otherwise, there are no significant changes to the general reserves in December.
Okay, thank you, Jesse.
Make a motion to accept the July 2022 through December 2022 financial reports.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the July 2022 through December 2022 financial reports. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, now we're on to regular business. First thing we have is the FY '24 budget prep for the library. Is there anyone here on behalf of the library that'd like to speak?
Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
okay.
Hi, I'm Rachel Corman Ramos. I'm the board chair of the library, and Public Health is with me, he's our treasurer. We are asking for an increase in our budget, more so than we've ever. We try to stay flat and have so for years. And this is only due to salary increases. In fact, we've been able to save on electricity since we got our new building. We've gotten a better system there. And I think, do you have our budget straight for us?
Yes.
I think you can see that we're not increasing anything else except for salary. In order to recruit and retain the very best, we have an assistant librarian now who's been with us for 14 years. And we've just now hired a director. And we believe that with the times we need to do that in order to maintain and increase the time in the library. We're looking forward to opening for an additional day and making our library more available to the community. We want to make sure that we have the space. We know that we're available to the community, one of the only spaces in Tremont, public spaces that can be used, and we want to make sure that it's open even longer. Right now, we're only open on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, so we want to increase our hours. And we've also talked to people on committees who are saying you could use additional spaces for committees and meetings, and we'd like to reach out and do more of that. So we're asking for you to support our request so that we can support our faculty, our staff. They have been stalwart and been amazing and are really community-minded, and we want to make sure that that continues.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Chris.
I would just add that we did provide the library with Maine Municipal's survey salary, which did indicate that the current salaries of the library were well below average salaries for the rest of the state that participate in the survey. And the amount, to point out, the amount they would be requesting for your budget is at the bottom of the first page, 82,897.
Okay, that was one of my questions that I was gonna read.
I also understand, that from the comprehensive plan, one of the requests is that there would be more spaces available in Tremont. And so that was one of the things that came up in the survey. And so we've talked quite a bit about that with our board of trustees, about ways that we can work more with the town to offer an additional space in addition to this. And, I know with the centennial planning and that kind of thing, we understand that you're back to back with meetings and sometimes overlapping, and that we can really offer more space, especially with our new building. We have really flexible bookcases that all move out of the way, and we're also getting, an owl that can interact. It's one of the, projectors where people can, call in and they can see the audience that's in the library and the library can see them. So it's an interactive kind of Zoom.
Much more efficient than Zoom.
Right, it's much more efficient than Zoom, and
And
so,
friendly.
yeah, and so, we will be able to interact with, other towns. You guys can have meetings, if you wanna have town meetings with other, people, then we would be able to use that space. We're investing in that with some of our reserve technology funds to make the space even more usable for the community.
How many
I
people,
think a big thing here is to bring on the new director. We're very excited about him. And, it's no easy task with the amount of money you can offer. Jesse was very good to fortunately find the data that he found was very helpful for us. A little bit enlightening, somewhat almost discouraging initially. And we realized we have been very fortunate to have the people we've had, the staff we've had, particularly with Lisa as she stayed unfortunate. And unfortunately, and Amanda, they've both
Amanda
been
Crafts has
wonderful.
been, she's been with us, Amanda Crafts has been in the library for 14 years. And works at Southwest Harbor Library and is such a big part of the community that we really wanna be able to help her have a living wage.
how many people does the library hold when you've got it opened up as many, for a meeting, I'm just thinking?
I'm sorry?
What's the capacity if you move all the bookcases and everything for a meeting?
That's a really good
Ball-
question. I think
ballpark.
that we can, I think that there's probably like seated? Do you-
If you're gonna have a meeting using the OWL system,
I think
is-
probably like 35.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I'm just recalling, I don't know exactly, I've gone back, Kevin, I think it's like 40.
okay,
But it comes to the fire code.
okay, well, I
The
just
fire marshal
curious.
comes, I believe it's 40 with chairs. Is that right, Jesse?
I was thinking it was 40 or 45.
Can't
exceed 50. Right.
Yeah, but now with the new space, that we have a large screen, and so now the new space reaches way back, and so that people can be in them. And all those bookcases are now on wheels,
Mhm.
so they all can be moved away, and it's a much larger space.
Oh, it's very efficient space. I hope all of you've been over to see it. It is, what a big difference.
We're looking forward to having a community welcome for our new director, and that might be an opportunity that you can come and see it.
And how many employees do you have there, total now? I know there's volunteers as well,
Right,
correct?
with the director, we have Amanda Crafts
Mhm.
and Carrie Kimura. She works 5 hours a week.
Mhm.
And Amanda works the bulk of the other hours with the director. So
Okay.
there's three consistent employees, and then we also have Brianna Conliffe, who's a fellow at Climate to Thrive, who has been helping us fill in as well and wants to stay on.
Okay.
So that'll help us add and be able to have the additional day open. They've all been really wonderful because they allowed us, in the time that we've been looking for a director, they've all been sharing responsibilities and have taken on additional hours and responsibilities so that we didn't have to get an interim while we were able to kind of hang on and find the perfect person because we went through a couple rounds. And so they've, even more so, have been really dedicated to the library and helping us keep it going while we've been looking for a new director.
What days are you open now?
Right now, we're open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and we wanna add Friday.
Okay.
And that'll give us some, like, leading into the weekend and also more, evening programming and that kind of thing.
Sounds good to me.
Yep. I understand the wage thing,
Yeah.
I know it's a
Yep.
We
hard
want to
battle
thank you for your
to,
support too. Particularly as we went through this issue with bringing on the new director. Jesse was very, very helpful, as was the staff here.
And this wage represents similar to the other wages across the state,
Yes,
right?
price increase.
Right, and we specifically tried to, use, the dedicated staff here as a measure, and so that we were kind of in line with the town, and so that we were, being mindful of everyone, in the town feeling equitable.
couple of those grades are pretty low.
The old ones?
Yeah.
Not exactly a living wage.
We would have loved them to be even higher, but we wanted to, you know,
Yep.
be, can't go crazy. This is.
You know, there's something about a small town like this that really does almost assure just this incredible dedication by fellow citizens. I mean, Lisa was absolutely incredible, and Amanda, and the new director coming in. I understand that he is very excited about working with such a small but close-knit town.
And he's actually a member of the Stonesville Library right now, so he's a community-minded person as well. And so he's very excited about bringing a lot of new programming. So having open another day, we'll have a lot more access to the library. for
Yeah,
children.
we have so many volunteers. We have a great group of volunteers, our friends group, and they can help, with all the work they do, they help really keep our costs low, particularly when we look at the book fair and many of the other things that we do.
Are you guys part of the book sharing program with the other libraries? Yeah, that's
Yes.
a pretty neat program. My
Yes.
mother-in-law is a librarian full-time in Bar Harbor, and she was telling me about
It's
it.
really wonderful.
Yeah.
And Kathy Pratt is one of our trustees, and I believe that she's on the Centennial Planning. And we were talking about, I talked to her last night, and we were talking about how the library might be a part of some of those events and tie in. And one of the ideas we also had, I talked to the director of the Stonesville Library when I was discussing our new director, and we were talking about trying to join with the other libraries and really highlight Tremont and bring more people to the Tremont Library by having kind of like a scavenger hunt over the summer and the fall of all the libraries, and having them travel the different libraries to learn different things about each of them in the communities, so that we can really kind of join like a collaborative group of libraries, and so that we bring more people to our community and see how unique and special our library is. So we're really looking towards doing more collaboration with Interlibrary Collective and bringing more programming, that kind of thing, to the town. Our new director actually has a radio show on WERU, and so he is very tied into a lot of performers and authors, and has worked throughout the state and is excited about bringing music and a lot of exciting things here. So we're looking forward to it, and this is one of the reasons we need to be able to retain folks.
I make a motion to tentatively accept the budget request of the Library Board of Trustees for the amount of $82,897.49.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to tentatively accept the budget request for the Library Board of Trustees for the amount of $82,897.49. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Very grateful.
and please come visit.
So let's see it.
All right, next we have the dedication of the town report. If anybody has any ideas of who we could dedicate the town report to?
How long did Justin do that job? I mean, he did a pretty good job, but I mean, it's usually not something like that, I don't know.
Yeah. It's not a bad idea. I don't know if it would be. Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Justin.
No.
When do we have to make up our minds?
You don't have to tonight.
Anybody have any ideas?
I thought of somebody the other day and I was just.
You forgot?
Well, the only other one
Jesse
that's
Dunbar?
not a resident anymore.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what
I don't
He's
know
not
if
a
that's a
resident
requirement.
anymore?
I don't think so.
He is a resident.
I think he
Yeah.
is.
You think he still
Yeah,
is?
I mean, that's great.
Oh, okay, well, whatever.
Yep.
No. I don't know if it really matters. He has been forever.
Right.
Give it a
Yeah.
look.
And I don't think
You
that
want me to do
that's,
it?
Yeah.
it's not a,
Yeah, what about Frank? I never thought of that. I know we did our stuff for him before, but.
Yeah.
we never done
That's,
Frank
that's
before.
what I thought we did was, we did.
Yeah, I did a plaque or whatever,
Plaque.
yeah. Yeah.
But it could be nice since he won't be at town
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Did he actually officially give you the word he won't be
Yes.
this? Yep.
go ahead.
Okay.
That investigate.
Yep.
We were just talking about Carlton, where he did
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of the community too. I don't know, a few options there.
Yep.
And some towns do dedication and memoriam.
Mhm.
The memoriam can sometimes get contentious, cause you can only do one,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Mhm.
Historically, Tremont hasn't done that.
We've never done Frank before.
I'd have to look.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I mean, I won't swear to that.
Yeah, no, okay.
You were,
Yeah, I can't think that far back though.
Yeah. And the
That's
list,
fine, like anybody?
and the list of stuff that he told me that he did too.
Oh, I know.
He's done 100 different things. different-
Constable,
Yeah,
and
he's
I
been
mean,
all,
he's been all over
even
the
name it,
place,
he's
yeah.
been,
animal
He's done
control,
it,
I
yeah.
think he did for a while, yeah.
yep.
Yeah, I say we pick him if we haven't before.
Yep. You guys
Frank's
okay with
pretty
that?
good one.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wanna do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it, I mean.
Yep.
I like that.
Hmm.
He's done a lot.
I make a motion to dedicate the 2022 town report to Frank Gray.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to dedicate the 2022 town report to Frank Gray. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? It would be nice too, Jesse, if you could get his actual history of what he's done. I know
Yeah.
one of the family members might know, but fire department, all the different, whatever he's done over the years that,
Don't forget a starring role in the movie.
yeah, he did.
Oh, that's right,
Oh, yeah, documentary film. Yeah.
Really?
Frank and Ada, yeah.
I was
Oh, you haven't
straight
seen
up.
That's really good, actually.
Peter Loeb did it,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually quite entertaining.
Aw.
Yeah.
He's a minister too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
worn many hats.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Things that man's done.
Town meeting's gonna be a little sad without him this year.
It really
It's
is.
gonna be a little weird.
Yeah, we're gonna get to do that, by the way. Is that later conversations? We'll have that later.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's two interested parties.
okay. All right, next we have the short-term rental consultant. And that's what the title is. And we have Mr. Mark Good here from the planning board, but I'll summarize and tell me if I'm doing it wrong, Mark. Basically, they had a meeting the other night. They would like to have us have someone like Noel Musson assist them with a few public hearings / meetings to kind of figure out, get the pulse on what's going on, what everybody would like, or the general consensus, I guess, before moving forward into something major. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's basically it. I know a couple of you were at the meeting and Jesse summed it up in his memo
Mhm.
quite well. Yeah, it's just, it's not like, you understand this costs taxpayer dollars, so.
Yeah.
We don't wanna spend money just willy-nilly, basically, but, it would be nice to have somebody to help us through this process, at least key moments. And, we, in our motion, I think we said we would prefer to have Noel, but if not him, some other qualified land use
Yes.
professional
Yep.
planner, yeah.
And, yeah, because I think it would be helpful. It seemed like at the meeting, it started out here and it just went spiderweb everywhere, and it was, getting into, it was a lot of, you need to,
In public
Bring some-
comment, yes,
yeah.
yeah. We allowed for some public comment,
Yeah.
and the comments were all over the place. Understandably, some, basically, thought nothing should be done, and others went as far as saying basically Airbnbs are the devil, so, and everywhere in between. So it'd be nice to have some guidance on where to start and where to go for this. If you remember, we went through the campground ordinance standard changes, and we didn't really have any help on that. It was, we could have used some.
Do you think it's worth having a public hearing before we hire somebody like Noel or whoever, just to see what the interest is? I mean, I know on one side, there are people that, like you said, hate the Airbnb. Do we know that there are people that like the Airbnb.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
I mean, we
yeah.
should have a public
Especially the
hearing
people that
first, I
own
think,
them.
to see if we even need to, right? But I mean, we don't even know it's a huge issue yet.
I understand what you're saying, and we did discuss that briefly, and we thought that it would be good to have some guidance to even ask where, you know, what questions to start with in the public hearing, so we can gauge this. And I know Noel has done a lot of work here on the island locally with this, and has worked with other towns along the coast. And he knows what the issues are, so it'd be, you know, it'd save us a lot of time, I think.
But if there's not a call on both sides, do we need to hire Noel
I think
first?
just, and you two were at the meeting, just in opening it up to public comment the other day, I think we heard both sides.
Did you get a lot of public comment?
Yeah, there was
For
only,
the people that were there, yeah.
There's only a
I
couple
mean,
people.
it wasn't a public hearing, but,
half a
I
dozen.
just feel like I think we should advertise it as a public hearing and invite people to come out and
as a select board or a planning board?
maybe together? I mean, you don't seem to wanna do a public
We could
hearing, so if
mention
we
that,
had
too.
to, I mean, we could, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason why we can't.
They mentioned that at their meeting, Mark mentioned it, and normally I would kind of push against having joint ones. We've done it with the harbor committee
Mhm.
before, but, sometimes it is good to all be on the same page, or at least understand.
In the
that
same
we-
room.
Yeah, in the same room, that way you don't have Mark come back, not that he would change, but just have him come back and say, okay, this is what I think we got out of it. I don't know. That's a,
I reached out and talked to Noel after the planning board meeting, just to verify if you wanted to do that. Was he available? Would he want to do it? Cause he's fairly busy. He said yes, he would be available, he'd be happy to do it. He likes to take a very different approach, and he understands that it's an emotional subject on both sides of the rental issues. So, my advice would be that any sort of engagement with his group, the Mussing group, is basically just a hourly, we'd like you to come to this public hearing, and then summarize the public hearing at the next planning board meeting with proposed next steps. And he would advise, you know, I think you need to move towards writing an ordinance, I think you need to wait until this, I think you need to do this.
Okay.
And at that point, you could make the decision, do we wanna hire him for that work? Do we wanna keep him coming to a couple meetings? But I don't see it as right now, I don't see it as a, you know, contract as much as,
Okay.
can you come to this meeting
Here and there, like.
and offer advice? And I think it would be important, if you want him to do anything, for him to attend that public hearing,
Right,
which
yeah.
whoever's holding it.
yeah, Keith had something before, he was recommending.
So, as far as the public safety aspect, I think it's important because the town of Tremont doesn't have, say, occupancy permits and
Mhm.
sort of things. And I think from a few situations where we've gone to emergency calls that, there should be certain provisions that if, in my opinion, I think the town should be permitting them, or that they have guidelines that they need to meet, because I'm seeing a lot of people, I guess I'm trying to politely say, I mean, if it's your own house, you're the king of your own castle, but once you start renting this property out to a transient person, that's 1, 2, 3 nights or a week, then, there's certain provisions should be included, like the right phone numbers on the refrigerator, and so people calling the bar or police department when they have an alarm call, and I don't know how far it could go, but I think that would be our one opportunity to get into properties and make sure that they're safe for people that come to stay in.
And we did talk about it at our meeting,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you, Keith, it's, the only thing I've heard too is like, where do you draw the line? Do you, you know, a lot of people feel you should make year-round houses, still, you know, be applied, held to the same standard. Year-round, you know, regular rentals.
So I think that person shows, the person that rents it for a year or long-term identifies the needs and addresses it with a renter.
Mhm.
These people are here for 1 or 2 nights, they don't know if they have operating smoke detectors, gas, carbon monoxide,
Yeah.
or even that they're exiting certain property. But yeah, you're right, so, I don't know, I guess, we gotta bite the bullet at some point.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of little things like that that people don't even think about, like things that you just brought up that are very important to this,
Yeah.
whole conversation, and this doesn't have to be a great big huge.
So the town of
Ordeal,
Auburn
but-
issues a letter of what needs to be done, and they'll actually come out and inspect the property with you, but, I mean, even if the homeowner signed off that it has those things, then at least they've recognized that they need them.
Right.
Not so much that we're in there looking with a flashlight in every corner of their house, and just,
Right.
trying to raise the standards over there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of detail, and that's what I mentioned when I did attend the planning board meeting. I think that, you can't jump the gun on a lot of this stuff, as far as, you need to make sure it's done right. It's done properly with a lot of thought. There's a lot of little details like that can be done, and I think, can, be a happy medium for a lot of people too, so.
Be nice if people would just not be extreme on both that sides.
No,
and
exactly, yep.
Just try to make the best.
Yep.
I think one thing that would be really beneficial, sorry, Mark.
I was just gonna say, that's why we thought that it would be appropriate to have somebody help us through the process.
Yeah.
Because we understand it is a hot button issue, that, a lot of people make their livelihoods this way. And we just wanna do it right and make sure that we're doing what the town needs, not just adopting something like some other town has done.
I think one of the best things that could come out of it is some kind of a scale, so you know how many are in town or whatever. And I mean, if you, not that we do, but if you had 20 of them, it's a lot different than 500 or something, and it would be really nice to know that. And that might be one of the benefits. It would really be nice to come out of, at least preliminarily, some kind of a feel for just what kind of numbers we're talking about.
Yeah, I think registration of some kind is an important first step. Where we want to go from there, that's another story.
Yeah, well, when you start getting into these requirements, we're a town that doesn't have a building code.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you draw the line at a transient rental, however you define that? I know there's a definition, but that's subject to change too when you start this process. How do you do that, compared to a monthly rental or even a, owner-occupied home? It seems like if you start setting up different standards for them, you're starting to walk into a mess too. So, I mean, this could snowball into something, pretty extreme pretty easily. And again, I think we need to kind of go a little carefully how far we jump into this at first. And I think, maybe having a consultant that can point out some of the things which are workable and legal. I mean, again, you start talking about these rules, how are you gonna enforce them? It just turns into kind of a mess, so
And when you rent a house, you're signing, you're renting it at your own risk.
Yeah.
Let me remind the select board that you were the ones that sent all this to us on the planning board, okay?
No, and I mean, I personally, when I made that vote, didn't expect a really detailed thing. I just thought there's been a lot of concern with it in town, and I was looking at some kind of a starting point. That was my personal feelings when I made that vote.
And we need to give them a jump off point, like we can't just be like, do it. And that's why I think a public hearing might be good, because then you have two sides and you do have input from either sides.
Public
it gives you
hearings are important. Yeah, we're definitely gonna hold public
I mean-
hearings, I would think, but.
And a lot of the safety features you're talking about, I own 2 seasonal rentals. I mean, I'm experienced with it and all that. I know when I register a property, when I list it, I'm, with Airbnb anyway specifically, I haven't dealt with the others for a while. I have a checklist of things. I have a fire extinguisher, I have a first aid kit, I have a CO2 detector, I have a smoke detector. I go right down through the list of things and check them off. They want to see that done before I even listed the property. And I mean, again, those are all great, and I think every one of them should have them. And, you know, maybe that's something the town should do, but are we gonna put someone in every property
We're
to
gonna have to hire a
inspect
whole other
those?
position.
You pretty much have to trust the property owner to do that already. I mean, again, having them agree that they've got it, I think is fine. Do you wanna go inspect every one of these? And, you know, again, it turns into a real enforcement nightmare, I think, sometimes. And I wanna be really careful before we make that step.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's just hasn't been talked about, that's all. You know.
Yeah, the
No
only
one's,
thing,
everyone's scared to talk about it,
Yeah.
so let's just talk about it, and maybe we do nothing, you know?
the only thing, Eric, is, when I attended the meeting, their planning board meeting it started out as like Kevin said, what I thought it was, we were going to get a tally on what we had in town, and it went from there to every extreme under the
Right.
sun, and it wasn't just the public that was doing that, so, I just, it's hard to keep it, I don't want it to snowball into something, out of hand, that's all.
I just don't think it's up to us to control every little thing every
Yeah.
person does in this town. Like, it's yours, you bought it, you paid for it, you inherited it, however, I mean, I just don't think it's up to the town or us, whatever, to nitpick every single thing.
Seems like you're talking policy now, and none of this has been really discussed, and this is what we're here to decide, is
Yeah.
whether to hire somebody to help us through all this.
Okay.
So I think Noel's probably a great idea.
Yep.
Yeah, it's basically an hourly consultant at this point.
Did you say anything about?
Jesse, he's okay with that? That sort of
Yeah.
arrangement?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So, everybody's agreement, have Noel come for a couple meetings? Okay. What about the joint meeting thing? Didn't know what Mackenzie mentioned. Someone mentioned, Mark, any input?
I don't want to speak for the entire board.
Okay.
I thought after that meeting, though, that you guys weren't real enthused about a joint meeting.
No, I just would wanna check with, Jesse first and see how it, cause legally, how you set it up and everything.
Be fine with me, but, yeah.
Okay, let's take care of that at a later date. Does that sound good, Mark? We'll figure that out with Jesse and call James, the attorney, or whatever, about a joint meeting. Does that sound good? And not, we won't
That's fine with
do
me.
anything with that right now.
But we would meet with Noel first at some point, the board, to discuss what's going to happen at this, or
I just walk him right into a public hearing, if it was me.
just walk right into it.
I'll talk to him.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would just bring him right into it and just get his, get his input, just see what he thinks. If half the room says this, half the room says that, what do you, what is?
Yeah.
Maybe you could have him help set up, a little bit of the structure of it.
Yeah,
But,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, but I
Be
mean.
nice if he led it or something.
Oh, yeah.
Discussion, yeah.
But that
Cool.
way he gets he can give you what he thinks of it at least when it's all done. All right,
Yeah.
I need a motion.
Make a motion to authorize the town manager to engage the Musson Group in a discussion on possible consultation on short-term rentals. I don't know if that's the right motion.
Yes.
Okay.
Close enough? Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize the town manager to engage with the Musson Group in discussion on possible consultation on short-term rentals. Do you also wanna just say what our intention on that motion is, just like couple meetings? We don't mean
It's up to you.
20 meetings,
mean-
that's all, yeah, okay.
I think it's probably fine.
Okay, yep. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Thanks, folks.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark, it's not a fun job.
No, I
What's that?
It's not a fun job.
no,
so thank you.
believe,
Oh, yeah.
We know.
On
We
either side,
understand.
Mackenzie,
No.
either side.
I know.
we understand, Mark.
I think I'm gonna slink on out of here.
Yeah.
Get out like stuff.
So we
All
can
right.
we can talk about you more in a couple of minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, make sure you get that up.
Yeah. Community building cameras.
Good luck.
I know we talked about this a couple different times, and is there anything new, Jesse?
Yeah, so at your September 19th meeting, there was a brief discussion with the principal about school wanting to add security cameras to the exterior of the school and the community building. It was shortly after the break into the school shed. And the select board at the time indicated that you didn't have any issue with footing the bill for the community building portion of the camera system. The school is working on moving forward. The AOS is trying to work on an AOS-wide system, so they're all the same. But the school is going to be waiting for next year's budget to do the installation on their building. So I suggested that they come back to you, that we bring this back to you for an official discussion and possible authorization. And therefore, they're not hung up waiting for us. Whenever they're ready to proceed, you can authorize your portion, and then whenever they're ready for that, they would know that they're good to go, unless it exceeds that. But right now, they have an estimate of $3,900 for the community building portion. It includes one camera outside and one camera inside the building. In the entrance, I believe one camera is on the outside facing the parking lot, and one camera is in the south entrance to the building, facing the doors.
Facing the doors, not facing inside, towards the
Facing
gym,
the doors, so you can see who's
coming in and out, but you don't see who's in the gym.
I think it's a good idea. I think
We should have done this a long time ago.
one scare was enough for us,
Yeah.
at least for me.
So you just wanna authorize it and then hold off, so it's the same system as what they're doing, right?
Right, yeah, so I'd have you authorize up to a certain amount from the community building reserve, for the installation. The current reserve account is approximately $55,000.
So if we said up to $5,000, I know you said it's
That'd probably
roughly
be the
39,
safest.
but that would be plenty safe.
That's gonna round it up some too.
Yeah, just so it doesn't get hung up in something that we, $100 off or something.
Yep.
I motion to authorize using up to $5,000 from the community building reserve account for the installation of security cameras at the community building.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize using up to $5,000 from the community building reserve account for the installation of security cameras at the community building. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, next we have community building use policy.
So at the, I believe it was at that same meeting, there was a brief discussion about the use of the community building. And so the Tremont School Board asked that I attend their school committee meeting to discuss their concerns with the public's use of the building. Mainly concern was safety of the staff and students, from not knowing for sure that the building was empty on Monday morning when it's been rented on weekend for a party. There's no way of knowing that everybody has left the gym until one of the staff members gets there on Monday. As well as if there's a large mess from like a birthday party, then they have to clean it up Monday morning before class can take place. So one of the things they had asked at the school board meeting was if there was anybody at the town that could check the building after a birthday rental. I said I could check the cleaner here to see if it was something she could swing by after a Sunday rental and just make sure that there's no large mess or anything going on. She is fine with that. So that would be just an hourly rate, shouldn't take more than 10, 20 minutes unless there is a mess. They also discussed the desire to have a deposit for the use of the building, a refundable deposit, in case there is any damage. The use of hoverboards seemed to be damaging the floor. last winter, so we have restricted the use of them. On the application, there's a big disclaimer that they're not allowed to be used in the building. So my only concerns with the deposit, they felt they wanted to keep it low, so not to burden the taxpayers. It's not really gonna cover much if there is damage to the building, so you could justify what's the point in charging it if it's not gonna cover anything. We have the additional issue of, in order for the town to give a refund, it has to go on a warrant, so it could be up to 2 weeks to get your refund back. Somebody said, well, you could hold it. Well, there's no guarantee, if they write us a check and they know we're holding it and not cashing it, then there's, could be issues there. A lot of the use is basketball use that, uses it 2 or 3 nights a week, so what's the deposit?
Right, do you charge them a night?
Is it per night, is it per week? Is it,
Yeah,
for the month?
yeah.
So there's a couple issues, with that. But I'm bringing it back to you for, if you want to make any changes to the policy, regarding the deposit. If you're okay with, the cleaner checking it, you could make a motion for that.
I don't wanna deter taxpayers from being able to use it.
Right.
And it seems like that's, it always used to be, when I was in school, Keith, same thing when he was around a few days ago, I know, but you would get down on, Krista and a bunch of them would all have, get the gym, everybody played basketball, it was good, that's what you did. You don't wanna deter that, like, this is part of the community, it's always been there.
They're already paying for it.
I think, they're already paying for it, I just don't feel like that they should be paying a fee. I know to a lot of people, that's not a big deal, but to some people, it is a big deal. It's $50 is $50 and, or $20. I just think they pay that when they pay their taxes and.
Right, and I would say that the school committee in general was very in favor of the community's use of the building and not wanting to restrict that. So I think they were trying to come up with something to protect the building, but at some point it's the risk of letting the public use the building.
It doesn't get a lot of damage with it, does it? Some.
No.
I know there's
It
been a
is
few
something
times.
that's a backboard or something that costs multiple thousand,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
$50 isn't gonna cover it, so what's the point?
Right. And I even said at the meeting, do you wanna restrict the birthday parties? Do you wanna just have it gym use, basketball, whatever? Do you wanna, they can have birthday parties at the town office meeting room. But they didn't, they wanted to continue to allow that,
I know, and I'm surprised with that, because if one thing was gonna go, I would think it would be birthday parties and that use, just because it's probably harder to clean up and such, but I know no one wants to have the discussion, but we've gotta figure out someday, excuse me, where the line is gonna be between the school and the community in that building, because I know from being on the space committee that, the school's trying to use what space they have. And I understand legal issues as far as, concerns of who's using the building now and stuff. You have to run a tight ship now and be cautious with the kids there. I understand, and I also understand people who feel like they pay their taxes and they wanna be able to use it when they wanna be able to use it, so.
So the second part of the conversation with the school committee was, the conversation of transferring the building to the school department. They were all in favor of continuing that discussion, but they all felt the community's use of the building was vitally important to maintain regardless of ownership. And that they would want that maintained should they take ownership of it. And they wanted to make it perfectly clear, again, that they were not requesting the building be transferred.
Yeah.
But that
I actually like the idea of a deposit. And I think if you did it, you know, $50, and you did it for like one-off events, birthday parties or something like that, take the $50, stick it in an envelope behind the desk up here, hand them the envelope back, you know, when they do it, so you don't have to worry about a warrant. I know it's been left a mess a few times. If someone's responsible, put up the $50, I think it's gonna be a lot cleaner when you go back in. And again, it's tying up your money from Friday until Monday or something.
Right.
I mean, you know, you get it back if the place is in decent shape when you do it. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Are we allowed to hold it that way, though? There isn't anything that,
To be cash, I
Well, either way.
there's
I
nothing
mean,
that the auditors would say that we'd have to receipt it
Well, I
or
don't-
something.
mean, I have to check
Yeah.
to be sure, but.
I mean,
I think it's
don't-
unfair to hold their deposit for 2 weeks,
Oh,
because
yeah,
we
I do
don't
too,
meet,
yeah.
you know, for,
But I mean, if you just take it, you put it in an envelope with their name on it, and they come back in,
yeah,
you know, here's your,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah.
that doesn't require a warrant approval or anything like that. And, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of deposits here that don't get made daily anyway.
Right, but they're received.
They're receipted.
Yeah.
It
So
goes
the-
through the computer.
system knows
Yeah.
it's in the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, you could,
And then I could
So-
see, not to, I disagree with you on this one, Kevin,
Okay.
that's fine, but I'm just seeing things too. You get someone who drops off $20 or $50, they said they dropped off $100, or I dropped it, can he pick it up for me, but, you know,
Mm.
Keith and I rented it together, and Keith dropped off the $50, can I pick it up for him, drop it off, cause he's busy today, you know, I can just see all these things just, I don't know.
well, I mean, it's fine, if it's being used responsibly, the deposit doesn't make any
Yeah.
real difference to me. And I think it's been pretty good so far. I know, I can think of a couple instances where it was
I
pretty
do
good.
think not receiving it would lead to internal control concerns to the auditor.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that you know, I know obviously that they decided they wanted to see birthday parties and stuff there, but if I was gonna nix anything, I think it would
Oh,
be
yeah.
that. I mean, I've had some, we've had a couple of my kids' birthday parties there too as well, but that's gonna, seems to create a lot more of a mess, and even if you're real responsible with it, clean it up the best you can, it still can leave something behind, and, you know, I don't know.
Hmm. I mean,
I don't know what the answer is. I just don't wanna deter, that's all, cause I just know, growing up here, that, you know, there would be a half a dozen people just get together on Sunday morning or something, and say, Saturday, whenever it was open, let's go down and play basketball, and that was that. It was, you know, and I like having kids as they're growing up, you know, be able to grab a few of their buddies and go play.
it hasn't really been much of an issue with the cleaning, or the
No,
condition has been
It's been a
left.
handful.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically you hear about it when it happens. You
Yep.
don't hear about it when it doesn't. So, I mean, if it's working, I don't, you know, whatever.
And also with the camera, I would think
Yeah.
if someone, you know, it'd be hard to talk their way out of what happened there, you know, then we could take it up with the person.
Yep.
If, once again, if Keith goes in there and does a big, you know, slam dunk, shatters the backboard, then we'll say, wait a minute. Yeah.
Do
Just-
they
yeah.
still sign something? I haven't taken the
Yeah.
gym out in 100 years, so
Yeah.
they still sign something that says
Mhm.
they're responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, and if you do that, it might be good to mention that there are security cameras that are recording
Mhm.
too. Put that right in the agreement.
Yep.
They all
Yeah.
point outside, but you don't need to know that.
Right? I'm like, we're just gonna go outside. Yeah, that seems weird.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
The, yes, in the policy, I'd have to look, I think it's the policy, does say that the select board can assess fees for damage at their discretion, so
Mhm.
if something is
Yep.
majorly damaged.
I'm fine putting it off, you know, or as long as it's working,
Is one of the larger issues just Monday morning getting it ready for class if it is a mess. So if our
Yeah.
cleaner goes in there on Saturday, Friday
Right.
afternoon, or whatever, then that kind of should help with that.
Have to be
So
something Monday
maybe you
evening.
cap it at like Sunday
Right.
evening at like 7 o'clock or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Then it gives her time to go in there and pick up if it is a mess.
Yep.
I mean, you don't want somebody in there till midnight and she's gotta roll in and
Yep.
do it before school starts, so maybe there should be like a,
Isn't there already a time?
maybe there is,
I don't know.
I don't know either, maybe.
I thought it was.
I know, it should be like
Okay.
6:30 on Sunday.
On Sunday or something.
And then
yeah.
she can come in, and also to make it fair to the cleaner, I think you should give her a 1 hour or hour and a half, you know.
No matter what.
No matter what,
Yeah.
just so that, I mean, that's
She's gonna
somebody's,
leave her
that's
house
someone
and come
Sunday, you
out.
have to go down
Right.
and check it, and
Yep.
it's a pain.
Yep.
That seems like a pretty good plan.
Do you want to amend that stuff and then bring it back to us, or do you want?
I don't need to amend it for the cleaner, if you just wanna make a motion to authorize, the cleaner to check the community building after
Okay.
birthday, or after party. Martin's.
And to close the community building at 6:30 on, or whatever time, just
Yeah.
on Sundays.
6, maybe 6.
Okay, 6. That way, if she does have a mess, it would give her an hour or two to, cause you know if you say 6, someone's gonna be still playing basketball at 6:30.
Yeah, we just have to make that clear, because she doesn't need to go in there and have like 10 guys playing basketball and, you know.
Right.
We don't need her, getting hassled because they're not done their game yet.
Right. I'm sure Jesse will hear.
Yeah,
From,
yeah,
if so.
Do you need to put in, like Jamie was saying, an hour or whatever for wages in that motion?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No. That's fine.
So we'll do the cleaner first and then
Mhm.
the,
Yep.
yeah, the use policy second.
Do we do the cameras?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
We do the cameras.
So, what do you want? I motion to request the town manager to send the cleaner,
Authorize
Authorize.
cleaner
authorize the cleaner to inspect the community building
after party.
after party rentals Sunday evenings.
And the community building to be used no later than
Oh, that
whatever
was
you
the
said.
second motion.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Maybe
confused
that's the
now.
second motion. Never mind, sorry.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to authorize the town manager to authorize or to have the cleaning, lady check the, community building every Sunday evening. And that's it, basically?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanna make sure there's nothing, we don't need the pay, we don't need the, that's it.
Okay.
Alright, any discussion? All those in favor? Alright, now we need to have the, community building use policy.
So it would be a motion to amend the community building use policy to close the community building Sundays at 6 p.m.
And they've already covered the hoverboard part.
Yep.
Okay. I make a
What
motion.
about the, what about the deposit part? And whether you're for or against, that's fine, if you, do we need to exclude or include that?
No, not unless you want a deposit,
Okay,
because there's not one now.
okay,
Yeah, I'm fine.
okay, yep.
It's been working. I make a motion to have authorize the, try that again. I make a motion to amend the community building, policy, use policy, to have it close at 6 p.m. on Sundays.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to amend the community building use policy so that the community building is closed, 6 p.m. on Sundays. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, I thought you had something there.
No, I'm in favor.
All right. Next is D. We have the solar array fire department request. And you wanna, you or Jesse? Whichever.
I'll just summarize that, Keith, sent an email about possibly adding the 2 fire stations to the solar array, power purchase agreement, as they're currently not on it, they're not town-owned buildings, I believe that's the reason they were left off of it when it was set up. But I wasn't here when it was set up, so, Keith or Kevin, I'm sure can add any details on that.
First thing before, I was reading this, do we have any extra wattage that I'm just gonna call it sending back?
Not right now.
Okay.
It depends.
Typically,
But-
sometimes do.
There could be, yes.
Okay.
Typically, everything's covered, so I assume there's something over.
Cause I
that,
know.
yes, we don't retain.
Chris looked into it a while ago, cause I think I had asked, and he said there was a fair amount that was going back that we don't get credit for at one point, but this was.
I don't think he'd looked at a full year.
Okay,
I had that conversation with him, and he was looking at it in the fall.
okay.
And by the time you got through the winter season, I don't remember how it worked out, but it was a lot closer to even in the 12-month period, which is how they account for it.
Okay, yep.
So, I know he looked at the summer production and the summer usage, and it was quite out of balance, but that's not, I mean, like I said,
Yep.
by the time you figure calendar year, and I think it was pretty close. I mean, I don't know, and I know you've added the heat pumps. I don't know if there's an awful lot of additional generation that's not being consumed, I guess.
And is it supposed to be just town buildings?
I'm not aware of.
It was set up that way, I'm
Correct.
not sure it was, whatever. Is the fire department becoming part of the town?
It sounds like above you, I guess our forefathers set it up that way. The board, we were doing our annual budgeting and the board members, we were figuring out how much we're paying for electrical
Yeah,
bill each
yeah.
year, and they're like, is there any surplus? But I wasn't aware that even had Pacific Hall and all those, and then with the new heat pumps, I'm sure that's gonna burn up everything. They asked me to address the issue while we were doing our budget preparation, and that's where it came up.
Okay.
But it sounds like there's not gonna be much left scraped up.
I doubt there is. I haven't looked at it for a while either, but I
Yeah.
don't think, it was designed for basically the usage at the time it was built, which is in 2019, I think it came online December or early 2018, maybe early 2019,
Yep.
I think. And that was before Pacific Hall and the heat pumps and, electrical usage typically tends to increase because you just get more electrical stuff. So I don't know, Keith, I honestly don't know the answer, but my guess is there isn't probably much surplus.
Do you know roughly how many?
Also, the next thing is,
kilowatts?
we just got a grant from Efficiency Maine to upgrade our inside lights to LED, and we just got confirmation a few days ago, so we are doing, not that the lights are on that much, but it's still, it's a fee that we have to pass on to the town each year, if there's available credits, and we wanted to take the town brighter, big into solar and efficiency, and, he had the question, I was trying to address it, so, it sounds like it's gonna help much.
Did you recently just get that, the lighting
So we
grant?
just got a $1,700 grant.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For them to put new lighting in the meeting room.
Yes, I just was wondering, cause I was gonna get it, and after you'd gotten it for your shop, how it ran out, the time ran by the time, so I didn't know if they were starting it up again.
Well, so we applied for it last year and I just got, so I don't know if it's starting
Yeah.
January first, they have new funds, we just got a random email
Yep.
3-4 days ago, I think last Friday, saying we qualified and they were approving that.
I'm pretty sure this one's available.
Yeah, cause it was like a 50-50 split there for a while,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'd say it must have just come available, because I filled out the form a long time ago and it just cleared.
yep. So would it make sense to, have Jesse, / Kevin look and see how much production is you anticipate there to be before we even talk, there's no point to even talking about it if there's not gonna
If
be
there's
enough.
not enough,
Yeah, if there's not enough juice there, so.
I mean, I don't have access to that at this point, anyway, but you know,
If you want me to look into it,
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, just to see how, roughly, I know you can't be exact, and then when you go up to the heat pumps,
You know,
It should be-
and the other thing is too, it's gonna go up with a portable classroom installed.
Yeah.
Because the school's part of that. My guess is we're probably gonna come up at a deficit,
Yeah.
you know, if not already really soon.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's, if we get it, it'd be great to share it.
Yeah, if you have extra.
I know, I can pretty much guarantee it won't this year, cause we've had some trouble with the array being down.
Yeah.
So they had an inverter problem recently,
And there doesn't seem to be any notice on that, is
and,
there?
yeah, I'm working on that.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know if that was typical or not to get off topic, but if they, it stinks to have a bill come in the mail for such a, ton of money.
Could be
That's-
surprised.
There's
Yeah.
a note on that from a meeting today.
Okay.
Having a
Yep.
phone call on that, so.
Alright, so,
I'm on it.
everybody good with that? Okay, let's move on to the fire department pickup truck. I'll let you explain that, cause I don't even understand that. I read it.
So I purchased a truck, 10 years ago. We were looking to replace it a couple years ago, but the inventory just hadn't been available, and they weren't giving municipal credits significantly, but, if we purchase it, the department purchases it through the town's, obligation as a municipality. Last time Dana structured it, so we actually received like a $5,100 discount from Ford manufacturer. We did a municipal lease, so to say, which is basically just Ford financing to a municipality. And we just paid one bill annually, I think it was $7,000 of some sort, but, last time Dana had us get approval to do that, I guess, so I just wanted, before we started soliciting prices on it, on trade value, the current truck that we have is 10 years old and just still has pretty good resale value. And, there's anywhere from a $3,000 to $5,000 municipal discount. We just, thought it would make sense to update it before it became an older tool. It would be a quick attractive to resale.
So there's nothing wrong with the truck, it's just old?
Yeah, no,
I mean, it's still-
it's not even, so we were looking to get one that had, backup cameras, backup sensors, or those sort of things, and, some of the more modern features, like each truck now is equipped with a tablet, so we have the Wi-Fi stuff, and that truck was basically a very, basic, truck that was ordered in with 10 other trucks, and we took advantage of the pricing on it. We're gonna lose about, over the 10 years we've had the truck, we're gonna lose about $12,000 in value. So, I mean, it seems like we're still gonna get in the mid-20s or mid to high 20s for it. So, I think this is the time to trade it while it's still good.
So if it's not being, I'm just wondering how this would work paperwork wise, if the town's not paying for it, cause you're your own entity, so you're gonna pay for it, but it would run through under the town's name to get the discount, is that how it would?
Yeah, so, it would be basically structured the same way it would before, we just,
Do you have that paperwork though?
sure.
So basically, the town leases it and you reimburse them, is that?
All the payments, all the bills and invoices and title came to us, but basically the town authorized us to use their, fleet discount. And by doing that to achieve that fleet discount, you'd have to pay it all at once or finance it through Ford Municipal.
Mhm.
It says lease, but you own it.
So you have to be a municipality, is
I
what
guess
you're saying,
it's
to
the reason
qualify.
we did it here is the same way that Bar Harbor did for the water, public works. I guess Town of Mount Desert does the same thing because their water and sewer departments are private businesses. I don't know, that's the way the other towns are structured the same way. I didn't wanna go ahead and start dealing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
without the-
Does the, you said you made one annual payment
Yeah.
each year. Where does the funds for the annual payment come from?
From the fire department, but.
From the budget, from the town's
So
appropriation?
not necessarily. So what we did, now that they've changed the itemization of taxes, I guess, we see fewer annual donations, but we still get a fairly decent amount of regular people that donate each year. And then
and that's something you'd add into your budget yearly? So taxpayers are still paying for this truck, is guess what I'm getting at?
So we're utilizing donations
Hmm.
primarily.
That's what I wanted to know.
Right.
Yeah, I know why Jesse's asking it, because he's thinking, if it's gonna be, if it's taxpayer purchased, then we would have to purchase it like we normally, it'd have to go through the normal steps, like,
Well,
put
not
up the
only
bid.
that, you just want it to be titled in the town's name, the
Okay.
town paid for it.
Yeah.
Out of taxpayer funds.
Gotcha.
I don't think it's necessary right now, like, I think there's too much going on, we're putting money away for a fire station, we've got the pond that we've gotta dig. I mean, I don't think it's quite the right time to ask taxpayers to cough up money for a pickup truck that still can be used, you know. But you guys talk about trucks and I glaze over sometimes when I fall asleep, so.
Yeah, if it, I mean, if it came, well, yeah, I was gonna say, can you find the paperwork where they did it before? That would help make it a lot clearer to even,
Hmm.
do you have it, Jesse?
I haven't seen it. You said Dana did it?
Yeah, he was the one that, was trying to do it. So, what we did is we used, surplus monies that we had from the, which right now currently in bond savings alone, I don't know if Jesse has our New York State, we have around $20,000 in our account right
Okay.
now. And, that was what the, membership thought. We discussed buying, electric, Hamato tools,
Yeah.
instead of gas powered tools, and, what we've seen is that this truck's been very beneficial about accidents and wires down and stuff, having a truck out there instead of one of
Yeah.
our apparatus that has water in it, that's where it comes from.
Well, no, if you're using donation money, then we
Right.
don't have anything to
Yeah,
say
it
about
doesn't have
that.
anything to
That
do with
doesn't.
Well, that was, the reason we did it before is so that we could, because we get these annual funds each
Yep.
year, and we try to buy either our rescue boat was purchased that
Mhm.
way, the equipment for the boat was purchased that way, but,
Yep.
I mean, and, so we have a certain amount of people that donate, anywhere from $100 to $1,500 a
Yeah.
year. And, we tag that specifically to buy a piece of equipment or something that would benefit the department as a whole. But it's not coming from any carryover or surplus from our, regular
Yep.
budget.
Yeah, if it comes from that, then I would just lean on Jesse as far as paperwork wise. Jesse has to give his stamp of approval, you know, on whatever. I can see you're thinking.
For what year is the truck that you have?
It's a 13. We were looking to replace it 2 years ago.
Dana's notes are meticulous, I mean, Dana wrote great notes, like he really
Well, that's
kept
what I was
track of.
trying to figure
Yeah.
out, that was,
You want me to not
When
put you on
was-
the spot
when
and just
was-
move
well,
on to something else?
when was Dana? Yeah,
Chris was here for 3 years.
Dana was here for how many?
Probably 2.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, I was gonna say.
He was
3.
intern for a little while, then he was,
Like 15, 16 to 18,
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah,
this is
something
before
like that.
Dana.
right? Miller.
Maybe
2012 is Miller.
I thought it was Carl.
So instead of making Jesse paw through stuff now, let's
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
him, in your spare time,
Yeah, or
Jesse.
if you could find-
Yeah, if you can
So,
just,
so basically, the fire department could purchase it ourselves, that was our intention last time, but
yeah,
the salesman told us, I'm not telling you how to spend your money, but you can save $5,100 by running it through the town.
Yeah.
So, and so the selectmen at the time were like, I think it's for 30 cents to save $5,100.
yep, no, I just wanna make sure that it checks on Jesse's end as far as it doesn't make a headache for his paperwork, that's all.
Yeah.
You know, you want. But, yeah, how is, while he's looking for that, or we can postpone it, I was gonna say, how is the recruitment lately, Keith? We were talking about it before, and I didn't know if you'd gotten any more numbers, or,
No, so we had, actually, one of Eric's friends has joined,
Yep.
where,
Yeah.
who's eager and willing to learn, but,
Yep.
still is not a huge pool to pick from, so.
I didn't know if, because I know we mentioned it before about paying them, you know, giving a little extra, you know, to try to get people to come in and do it, or
So
seems to be the
the
only.
part, we do that through our annual budget, we have one member that, has 10 hours a month, something
Mhm.
that does all administrative,
Yeah.
record keeping with, state reporting and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And, that person makes a checklist of things that need to be prioritized in our next meetings.
Yeah. No, I meant like, you know, someone who wants to join, give them an incentive to.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
to-
well, yeah.
I know it's.
I know, and they talk about, state retirement, programs and
Yeah.
stuff too, and but I've never seen any of that.
Yeah.
Never seen that materialized, but, yeah.
Jesse, do you want us to give you a little bit, just to look at it?
Yeah, as long as you
Yep.
want me to do it.
We'll just pause, is that okay with everyone? Or no, it's up to you guys. What do you guys say?
You're gonna make him look for it now?
No, 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 no.
Oh, like, wait, what?
No, that's what we were saying. It's
Oh.
okay, table it.
Wait, am I not paying attention
No.
tonight? I don't know what's going on with
I'll
me.
table it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
table it.
We're just gonna table this for the second, and we'll,
Okay, what he said.
all right.
Oh, man.
How do you look like? What? You're
I
gonna look
know,
for it now?
that's what I was
All right, next we have the Housing Authority water.
Okay.
I'll have Jesse explain to you. Are you from the Housing Authority? Maybe you could explain to us what I know Jesse gave us a quick brief, but.
Yeah, well, first I wanted to say thanks to the two folks for considering this request. Basically, our Birchwood Apartments just up the road here, 22 units, there's 3 wells up there. They've all been tested safe for consumption, but nobody drinks the water because, you know, the color and the smell and the taste. So we've actually, I guess that's pretty common for the Cinder town.
Yep. It's called that side of the road.
Yeah.
Brad Reed would say, this side of the hill and that side of the road, because I live there too, is iron. That's all it is.
So we're actually, we're supplying the tenants with gallons of water, drinking water, so they don't have to drink it, even though it's safe. The other problem we're having with the water is that it's literally rotting the pipes. I think it's mainly on the hot water side of things. It's reacting with something that's going on, some mineral or something in the water. So we're chasing leaks around. I don't think a week goes by where we're not fixing a leak. And actually, I think about a year and a half ago, we had a leak in an apartment. It went undetected for quite a while, and when it was discovered, the apartment was destroyed. So we had to gut the apartment and rebuild it. So we got some real water issues up there. We've engaged an engineering firm to look at it and come back with some ideas or things that we need to do to maybe, you know, with some sort of treatment or what we might have to do to make the water a better source of water. We haven't heard back from them. They've taken the samples and they're doing their testing and so forth. So there's going to be a cost to this, and our federal funding is such that it's very difficult for us to kind of take this kind of project on. So we're just looking for sources of income, or sources of funding to help us pay for some sort of treatment. So, I mean, at this point, like I say, they haven't come back with their results. The known right now is it's Oliver Associates. I don't know if anybody's heard of them. They actually, I think they work with the town of Southwest Harbor and the town of Bar Harbor. They work mainly with municipalities, but they agreed to work with us. So we've got a contract with them for $11,000. We haven't been able to pay into that at this point. And to date, we've had $990 worth of water testing done. So that's where we are. So I don't know how the town, I know there's opera money or the federal funding, if that's something the town would consider helping us out with, or.
Yeah. Before, I was just gonna mention, because I have the same water.
Yeah.
I live just next door. I have a company, I think New Orleans does mine, but there's a couple companies that come in, put a filter system in. It tests absolutely perfect. I've been there for about 20 years, almost 20 years now, and, yeah, it just makes a night and day difference, so.
Yeah, we've had New Orleans and all of them come in, they put their filters on and their softeners on
Yep.
and all this, and we still have these problems, so it's, after going through this, they're just gonna bring in an engineer
Yep.
and really take a drill down into this and figure out what we need.
Yep.
So, you know, like I say, we've got 22 apartments up there, we really wanna get them decent water.
Jesse, how, would this qualify for ARPA funds where it's not the town?
That I don't know,
Okay.
I haven't looked into that, I was waiting to get your thoughts and opinion on whether or not you wanted me to look into that. I know initially the ARPA funds did specifically contain things about water and safe drinking. However, that was mainly municipal water.
Yep.
Currently, where it's moved into any normal governmental day-to-day expense, this isn't normally a normal expense for the town of Tremont, so I just need to do some research to make sure that it is covered, as an allowable use.
Is the housing authority a nonprofit? I mean, it's not, you're not a governmental organization,
We're
really,
what's
are you?
considered quasi-governmental,
Okay.
we receive federal funding.
I don't know if that makes a difference or not.
Yeah, I don't think that would,
Yeah.
well, just my 2 cents.
Yeah, the quasi part's the part I don't quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna look into it, Jesse, just to see, or, I just don't think it's gonna, if it's gonna be, if you're
I can certainly look.
quasi.
How much money are you looking for or hoping for, or, I mean, do you have any kind of a,
Like I said, at this point, we don't know, until we get the study back from the engineer, we don't know. Like I said, in order to engage them, we had to agree to a $11,000 contract, and $990 worth of water tests at this point, so.
and you said you didn't have the money for the 11,000 at this point? Did I
Yeah,
hear you
we
correctly?
can, but we have a very limited budget, so it's
Yeah.
gonna hurt us somewhere
Yeah.
else. I mean, those buildings are getting old with a lot of needs.
Any thoughts?
I'd just say one concern, which we don't really have to discuss until we know whether or not it's qualified, but is where there's not currently a plan at this amount of money, is whatever the select board chose to fund going to result in something at the end. I mean, if you choose to fund part of the 11 or pay for the 11, and then the engineer's report says it's, 90 or 100 to fix it, and they don't.
Right. No, I
Do
wouldn't
that,
say
yeah.
you have to go all in, but, if you could help with the engineering costs, or
I
a
know.
portion of it.
I mean, do we have any
Yeah.
other suggestions besides ARPA money? I mean, I don't even know where to start.
Cause they're their own actual business, so they're their own,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
they're
tricky.
completely on their, has no ties to the, technically to the town at all.
Well, we are the town of Tremont Housing Authority.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking of you're not, like, the fire department's a nonprofit, yeah. I don't know.
Have you looked at, any of the drinking water grants through the
Yeah.
state with, I know there's a couple.
Yeah, we've been
different-
looking around, actually, Oliver, like I say, they mainly do municipality water, so
Mhm.
they know where to get grants, although
Mhm.
because we're kind of this different entity, they're not sure that they can help us out. So I'm hoping that when they come back with a plan, that they'll know where we can go get get some funds to actually build and do whatever treatment we need to do. But it'd be great if we could find some sort of funding to pay their bill.
How about if we ask Jesse to look into whether the ARPA funds will cover it? And if not, look at possible alternate sources for it and get back and see what that brings up. And maybe by the time, you know, you'll have some more information by then and we might have a little better idea of what you're talking about for money.
Okay.
Because I mean, I don't have an issue with helping you pay for this myself. But again, where's the money coming from and how much money is it going to be would be really good to know before we made too many decisions, I think, you know.
I know, do we fund any other businesses like
Yeah,
that?
that's
That's the
true.
only thing, that's the part, what I'm thinking is, all the ones that we fund are normally nonprofits, so I'm just, do we
are
fund any
considered
other?
non-profit,
Oh, you are, okay.
yeah. We're a nonprofit entity.
Yeah,
Oh,
and,
okay.
and it's tied with the government, the town government as the housing authority for the town.
Right. Yeah, you send the board of directors.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
appoint, I know
We
we
appoint
appoint
her,
people
You
to the
appoint
house.
the board of directors.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a little fuzzy on the relationship too, but we get a lot of those in this town, they get a little confused.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's a really good way to start, you know,
Mhm.
is have Jesse look into it a little bit. And again, if the ARPA money doesn't qualify, do we have some money sitting someplace else in money? And again, you know, and the more detail you could give us on what kind of expenses you're looking at, obviously that would be better.
Be looking for you to pay for the whole thing.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you wanted to, that'd be fine, but,
Yeah.
but I mean, we have these initial costs now, and
Mhm.
we say Jesse's
Yeah.
gotta see if it's even eligible.
Well, at this point, you haven't got to write an $11,000 check, it's a check for $900.
No, well, I've owed them, like $3,000 for a few months now.
Okay.
They're pretty good about it, so.
Okay. Well, I think in a couple of weeks, we probably could have a little more information.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you can find out what the, you know, what their status, how they're listed as a business and that probably, cause if they are a nonprofit, that changes it completely.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
all right, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
You know, the other thing too, while we're discussing it, it might be almost worth doing like a third-party request in the future on something like that. I mean, you know, I don't know if it qualifies, again, I'm kind of fuzzy on that, but that might not be a bad way. We have like third-party donations the town makes in the annual budget.
Mhm.
And I mean, that window just closed, I don't know, a month or so ago, I think, but, in the future, that might not be a bad way to have some kind of, you know, reserve fund set up for something along that line.
Mhm.
And again, maybe that's something Jesse could look into. Again, your status is, I'm not sure exactly how that functions.
Quasi-governmental nonprofit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know where that puts a relationship
Yeah.
between us and you, exactly. So, but that might be a way to.
Anytime you have any questions, feel free to contact me.
Okay.
You know, even if, not only this, but any questions you have about us or the housing authority,
Okay.
okay?
Okay,
All right,
thanks.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Next, we have the community resilience planning contract.
This is basically just the formal agreement we've already agreed to and it's been grant funded.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep, so this
Okay.
summer you authorized applying for the second round of the Community Resilience Partnership Grant and contracting with the Climate to Thrive to develop a community resilience plan. So that development of the plan was included in the grant requests to the state. The grant was received in the amount of $48,000. I believe the Climate to Thrive portion is around 33,000 of the 48. So I went ahead, you made the motion to contract with them for it, but I thought it would be best to have an actual contract where it was a larger sum of money that's just spelled out that this is who you contracted with, for that. So I typed up a, draft contract, sent it over to, their executive director, Johanna, and she signed it and sent it back, and a copy of it is in the packet.
And again, just full disclosure, I'm board chair on Climate to Thrive. And if I don't feel I have a conflict on this, but if people are uncomfortable, I can recuse myself.
Fine with me.
Fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's all what we've agreed to, and it's fun.
Yep.
It's just typed up.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep.
we've already talked together.
Go ahead, Mackenzie.
Alright. I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the contract between the town of Tremont and Climate to Thrive dated January 17th, 2023 for work on the community resilience plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize the town manager to sign the contract between the town of Tremont and the Climate to Thrive dated January 17th, 2023 for work on the community resilience plan. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, next we have reallocation of some FY23 funds.
So, yes, reallocation of 23 funds, this summer, when we did not receive any suitable bids for the cemetery mowing contract, it was decided to hire a third public works employee. We have done that, we just need to, shift the $35,000 in the cemetery contracted services line of the budget up to the wages public works driver line of the budget, to go towards that. There'll be some additional funds, that we already discussed from the ARPA reserve to complete that salary. But at this point, we just need to shift, that amount that was in the cemetery line.
I make a motion to authorize moving $35,000 from the cemetery contracted services line to the wages public works driver line in the fiscal year 23 budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize moving $35,000 from the cemetery contracted services line to the wages public works driver line in the FY23 budget. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, next we have budget encumbrances.
So the paving of the north entrance, to the town office, Public Works, was included in the FY22 Public Works paving line of the budget, and this paving was completed this fall in FY23, so we need to encumber the funds into the FY23 operating account. Those funds remaining in the FY22 are $11,319.72.
Make a motion to encumber $11,319.72 from the fiscal year 22 Public Works Building Paving Budget line to the fiscal year Public Works Building Paving line. Say fiscal year 23. If I didn't, I'll repeat myself.
Second.
Getting lost there.
It's been moved and seconded to encumber $11,319.72 from the FY22 Public Works Buildings Paving Budget line to the FY23 Public Works Buildings Paving Budget line.
It rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, that's right. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, next we have the town manager's report.
Alright, so in the last 2 weeks, I have worked on the harbor master's job description and ad that has been posted and applications are coming in. I typed the draft contract for the town and Climate to Thrive. Meeting preparations, financial reports. I researched and responded to questions from FEMA regarding the direct technical assistance grant. Prepared agendas for the broadband committee and sustainability committee meetings. Had some meetings and follow-up regarding the solar array. Worked on the FY24 budget. I had some follow-up conversations from the planning board meeting, I attended the Southwest Harbor Select Board meeting last week regarding possible joint deputy CEO between the two towns, and started initial review of incoming harbor master applications. Office staff was busy with VMB reporting and their day-to-day business. The clerk was away on vacation last week. Public Works washed trucks, started road repair on Cape Road, put the plow and sander back on truck 3, set up the crew for storms, treated roads, patched some pavement over at the bus garage at the school, mixed salt and sand, received some salt loads, installed new LED headlights on one of the plows, mounted a new vise, grease trucks 3 and 9, and clean and grease the John Deere. The harbor master assisted me with the job description and ad write-up for the position, finalized the submerged lands lease for the wharf floats, moved a lobster car, did harbor committee meeting prep, attended the harbor committee meeting, met with the harbor committee member about the comp plan, did a fishway check, cleaned up the dock, and moved the mooring back into position. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to continue the harbor master transition work, begin scheduling interviews for that position, and continue the FY24 budget work.
Okay, thank you, Jesse.
Getting a lot of applications there?
We've gotten 6 or 7.
Good.
Nice.
Suggestions for the next meeting? Date of the next meeting, and I just noticed that's my birthday, so do I get the night off? Yeah. Mackenzie, you got this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about I make this motion?
Yeah, that's it.
How about that?
No, I mean the
Oh,
date
yeah,
of the
yeah,
next
yeah,
meeting.
yeah, I
You
know
gotta
what you mean.
confirm that first.
Anywho, I'll make a motion to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, February 6, 2023 at 5 p.m. at the town office.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, February 6, 2023, 5 p.m. at the town office. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? And next we have in executive session titled Personnel Matters.
I thought you were gonna cancel that one.
Here,
Oh,
Garrett.
What was that?
It's a motion you need to make.
So, yeah, no.
I'll make a motion.
I was actually prepared, I circled it from the meetings.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, you're number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
To find that public discussion of these personnel matters could be reasonably expected to cause damage to the employee's reputation and or to violate the employee's privacy rights, and therefore to go into executive session to discuss the employment, appointment, assignment, duties, promotion, demotion, compensation, evaluation, disciplining, resignation, and or dismissal of an individual or group of public officials, appointees, or employees as permitted by 1 MRSA 4056A.
Second. That was easy.
Been moved and seconded to go into executive session titled Personnel Matters as read by Mackenzie. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, we're in the executive session, 6:42. Okay, we are out of executive session at 7:01.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Good. Yes.
We have documents to sign too, I think, you want to visit?
Oh, yeah, we have
Minutes.
to.